The chains rattled every time Princess Lily tried to move. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Her voice had been crushed the moment the blast hit the tower, dust, smoke, and a shockwave that felt like a giant hand slamming into her chest. Now she lay half-buried under broken stone, the cold floor pressing into her cheek, her long hair tangled with ash. A silver tear traced down to her jawline, silent. Outside the ruined chamber window, the sky burned orange. Flames spread across the rooftops of Astor Castle. Banners tore in the wind. The ancient bells rang, not for celebration, but warning. Somewhere under the smoke, she heard soldiers shouting orders, boots running, metal clashing. A battle she couldn't see. A world she couldn't reach. Lily pushed again. The chains shook but didn't break. Her breathing was weak and thin, like it came from a far place. She felt the tremble of stone as another explosion struck the northern wall. She wasn't alone in the room. Old Master Rowan lay nearby, robes burned, coughing dust. His shaking hand reached for her. "Princess," his voice cracked like old wood. Don't sleep." His eyes glistened with fear, not for himself, but for her. Lily blinked twice to show she understood. She didn't have strength for more. Rowan swallowed, almost crying as he forced himself up. "Help will come." She blinked again, slower. He didn't know that her voice, the one she used to command magic, to shout orders, to calm storms, was gone. Her throat felt sealed shut, every breath a struggle. Outside the window, a horn sounded, a deep, echoing note. A warning. A summons. A promise. Miles away, Max heard it. He stood on a cracked stone bridge, dust on his clothes, cuts across his arms. Smoke drifted toward him from the castle in the distance. His heart squeezed tight at the sight of flames rising above the towers. He muttered, "Lily, please be alive." He grabbed the straps of his travel pack, already half-torn, and sprinted. Boots pounding dirt, breath burning. The wind threw sand into his eyes, but he didn't slow. Beside him, his companion, Tom, tried to keep up. Tom was shorter, round-faced, and always half-joking even when he was terrified. "Max, hey, you're sprinting like you want to fight the whole army alone." Max didn't answer. Because he would. He absolutely would. Tom groaned, holding his side. "Bro, at least pretend I matter. Pretend my lungs aren't dying." Max finally spoke, voice tight. "I can't waste a second." Tom's expression softened. He stopped joking for once. "Is she still trapped?" Max didn't answer. He didn't know. He just kept running. Back in the ruined tower, Rowan crawled closer to the princess. His knees scraped stone, leaving small trails of blood. "Listen," he whispered, pressing a trembling hand on the floor. "Someone is coming, I feel it." He closed his eyes. Rowan was old, his magic weak, but he still had enough sense to detect movement in the world beyond the castle walls. A presence, a heartbeat, a force running toward them with everything it had. Rowan exhaled sharply. "It's him." Lily's eyes widened a little. Her heart kicked in her chest. She couldn't speak his name, but she felt it echo in her bones. "Max." A crash shook the tower. Dust rained from the ceiling. Lily flinched, pain rushing down her spine like fire. Rowan pressed a hand on her shoulder. "Stay with me, princess. If you fade now, he will break himself trying to save you." A tear fell from Lily's eye, silent. Max reached the outer gates where panicked villagers were fleeing. Some carried children, some dragged carts, some cried, some prayed. A guard grabbed Max's arm. "You can't go in. The invaders sealed the inner halls." Max shoved his arm free, eyes blazing. "Is the princess alive?" The guard hesitated. His silence was enough. Max stepped closer, trembling with fury. "Is she alive?" "She was in the East Tower when it fell," the guard finally said. "No one reached it." Max's chest tightened so hard he felt like collapsing, but he didn't. He ran. Tom shouted behind him, "Max, wait, don't, bro, I'm literally not built for hero stuff." But Tom followed anyway. Because he cared. Because Max needed someone who wouldn't let him die alone. Because this world, broken and burning, still had a few people who stood for each other. Back in the tower, Lily forced her fingers to move. She reached toward Rowan's robe, gripping weakly. Her eyes asked the question she couldn't speak. Will he make it? Rowan coughed, leaning close. If anyone can reach you, a human will. Max reached the shattered courtyard. Sparks floated like dying stars around him. He looked up at the tower where Lily was trapped. Bruised, breathless, but unbroken. And then he whispered to himself, not as a hero, but as a human who refused to give up. I'm coming. Smoke drifted like dark snowflakes around Max as he stepped deeper into the shattered courtyard. The walls looked like they had been torn open by giant hands. Statues were cracked. Fallen banners burned with small, whispering flames. Tom stumbled in behind him, coughing. Bro, if the world was ending, this is exactly how it would look. Max didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the broken tower in the distance, the east tower, Lily's tower. Its top had collapsed sideways, leaving a diagonal scar down the castle's side. A long trail of stone and dust marked where the blast had ripped through it. Tom swallowed hard. You think she's... No, Max's voice was low, steady. She's alive. How do you know? Max didn't stop walking, because she's Lily. Tom blinked, confused and a little annoyed. That's not actually a reason, Max. But Max wasn't listening anymore. He'd locked onto a single thought. I'm reaching her no matter what. In the broken tower chamber, Master Rowan rested his back against a fallen pillar. He pressed a hand over a deep wound on his side, staining his robe dark red. Lily noticed. Her brows tightened in worry, but she couldn't speak. Her voice remained locked inside her like a bird trapped under stone. Rowan managed a weak smile. Don't look at me like that, I've had worse. He absolutely had not. The man could barely breathe. But he needed her calm, he needed her hopeful. Princess, he whispered, leaning closer. There is a force moving through the castle grounds. I can feel his spirit burning, not magic, not power, something rarer. She blinked slowly, urging him to continue. Human will, Rowan closed his eyes, almost in awe. A fire no spell can create. Another explosion rumbled beneath them. Dust fell from higher floors. Lily flinched, her shackles clinked sharply. Rowan's gaze softened. Hold on, he's close. Max reached the inner gate, a massive wooden structure half-splintered by the blast. It hung off its hinges like a wounded animal. Tom frowned. It's blocked completely. Max rubbed his palm across the wood, feeling the heat from fire on the other side. There was no path through. Tom scratched the back of his head. You wanna go around, maybe take a little break, drink some water, cry a bit, I'm cool with any. Max stepped back. Tom's eyes widened. Bro, don't even. Max slammed his shoulder into the gate. A loud crack echoed across the courtyard. Dude, no, Tom grabbed him. That thing weighs like 2 dragons, or maybe just one. I've never weighed a dragon, but... Max shrugged him off and charged again. Another crack. Tom threw his hands up. Max, at least pretend we have brains. Max stepped back a third time, chest heaving. Help me push. Tom stared. You're insane. Max looked at him, not angrily, not desperately, just tired and honest. I can't get to her alone. Tom inhaled slowly. Something changed in his face, a shift from fear to decision. Fine, he muttered, but if I die, I'm haunting you. They braced themselves against the wood. 1, Max said. Tom grunted. On 2. On 3. Bro, no one ever actually pushes on 3. 3. They shoved. Muscles strained, arms shook, wood ground against stone. At first nothing moved, then a groan echoed from the hinges. They pushed again. The gate slid an inch, then another. Tom screamed, not from pain, but pure adrenaline. Yes, we're strong, I mean you're strong, I'm just here making noise. With one final shove, the gate crashed open. Max stumbled forward, out of breath. Tom collapsed to his knees, panting like a boiling kettle. "Bro," Tom wheezed. "Next time, just knock." But Max was already moving. Back inside the tower, Lily tugged weakly at her chains. She heard something distant but clear. A door breaking. Then footsteps. Rowan's eyes fluttered open. He's inside the castle. For a moment, a tiny spark lit in Lily's chest. Not magic. Not strength. Hope. A soft click sounded above her. A ceiling beam, loosened by the earlier blast, began splitting. Rowan looked up too late. "Princess." The beam shattered, crashing downward. Lily closed her eyes. Then a shield of shimmering light formed above her, flickering like a candle. Rowan, trembling, held his staff upright with shaking arms, pouring every last drop of magic into the barrier. The beam slammed into the shield. Cracks shot across the light, spiderweb-like. Lily reached toward him, begging him to stop, her eyes pleading, full of fear. Rowan looked back with a fragile smile. "You're not done yet." The shield shattered. The beam crashed beside them, missing by inches. Rowan collapsed. Lily's breath turned sharp. Her heart pounded painfully. She couldn't lose him. Not him. Not Max. Not anyone else. Not today. Max reached the central hall. He saw bodies, soldiers who had defended the castle, broken armor, burned flags. He forced himself to keep walking even as his stomach twisted. Tom stood quietly for once, eyes lowered. Max whispered, "Hold on, Lily." His voice cracked. He didn't care. He kept moving. In the ruined tower, Lily's fingers trembled with new determination. Her breath was weak, her voice gone, but inside her chest something refused to break. She wasn't just waiting. She was surviving. For him. Max moved through the castle halls with steady steps, but inside everything shook. Every doorway he passed carried signs of struggle, drag marks across the floor, scorched stone, splashes of dried crimson. He tried not to look too long. He tried not to imagine what Lily had seen before the tower fell. Tom followed close, quieter than usual. His usual jokes faded under the silence of ruined halls. "Max," his voice was small. "What if she's scared?" Max didn't slow. "She is." Tom blinked, then, "That's why I'm moving." Tom fell silent. Their footsteps echoed through the long corridor, past pillars cracked down the middle. A cold wind blew through a shattered window, carrying the sharp smell of smoke and ash. Max clenched his jaw. He'd been in battles before, but this felt personal, like the world itself had decided to test him. High in the ruined tower, Lily watched dust drift from the broken ceiling, floating like tiny sparks. Her body felt heavy, each breath tight. Rowan lay still beside her, one hand pressed to his side. His breaths were shallow but steady. Lily lifted her fingers, brushing his sleeve gently. He forced one eye open. "Still here, Princess?" She nodded, but her chin trembled. Rowan winced as he shifted. "You remind me," he said softly, "of your mother, quiet strength, the kind you only see when everything around you breaks." Lily looked down, eyes wet. She wanted to speak, to tell him not to waste his strength, but her throat burned with pain. Her silence wasn't peaceful. It was a cage. Rowan followed her gaze to the broken chain at her left ankle. Only one shackle held her now, and it was bent from her earlier attempts. "You can move more than before," Rowan whispered. "Use that. If something collapses again, don't wait for me." She shook her head fiercely, refusing. Rowan's weak laugh warmed the dusty air. "Stubborn like him." "Him?" Lily closed her eyes as Max's face filled her mind. He had once told her, even in fear, he would step forward for her. Even in darkness, he would be her light. She believed him. She always had. And the castle itself felt like it believed it too. Every vibration in the floor told her he was getting closer. Max and Tom reached a long staircase carved from white stone. Half of it had collapsed, leaving broken steps and a sharp drop. Max leaned forward, scanning the gaps. Tom groaned, "Oh great, a stairway that's also a death trap. I love it here." Max tested the first broken step. It crumbled, he stepped back. Tom pointed upward. "The tower is that way, right? Can we go around?" "No time." Tom raised both hands. "Okay, but hear me out, dying isn't helpful either." Max stepped to the edge, eyes locked on the platform above. "I can jump it." Tom stared. "Do I look like someone who can catch you if you fall?" Max didn't answer. He backed up several steps. "Max, don't listen, think about it." Max ran. Tom screamed behind him, "You don't listen to anyone." Max jumped. For a moment, his body hung in the air, weightless against the smoke-filled light. He landed hard on the upper platform, knees jolting. Pain shot up his legs, but he stayed upright. Tom's jaw dropped. "Bro, you're not human." Max looked down at him. "You can climb the side." Tom rubbed his face. I'll try not to die." Back in the tower, Lily heard something new. Footsteps. Faint. Steady. Growing. Her heart hammered painfully, hope curling through her chest like warm fire. Rowan slowly lifted his head, his old eyes shining. "He's coming up." Another vibration shook the floor. Dust drifted from the ceiling again. Lily tensed, expecting another collapse, but this time it was only a tremor. A soft wind blew through the broken arch window, thin, cold, carrying voices from below. Soldiers, the enemy, still searching. Rowan exhaled shakily. "They haven't reached this room yet, good." Lily shifted, pulling her ankle forward. The chain pulled tight, scraping metal against stone. She winced. She wasn't strong enough to break it, not yet. But she kept trying. Rowan watched her, pride softening his features even through pain. "You're not waiting to be saved, you're fighting too." Max hauled Tom up the last bit of the climb, both of them panting. Tom collapsed on his back. "I want you to know, if we live through this, I'm never helping you jump anywhere again." Max gave a rare faint smile. "Noted." They continued down a narrow hallway lined with broken mosaic windows. The colored glass on the floor glittered under the gray light. Each shard reflected scenes from the kingdom's history, battles, celebrations, coronations. Tom stepped over one carefully. "Man, this place used to be beautiful." "It still is," Max said quietly. Tom looked at him, "Even now." Max nodded, "Because she's here." They reached a corner where the corridor curved left. Max stopped. Tom bumped into him. Why?" Max raised a hand for silence. He heard it. A faint metallic clink. A chain. A breath. A heartbeat. "Lily." Max's chest tightened, his hands curled into fists. He stepped forward. Slow. Focused. Unshakable. Tom whispered behind him, "You found her, didn't you?" Max didn't answer. He just walked. In the tower chamber, Lily lifted her head. Rowan smiled weakly. "He's here." For the first time since the blast, Lily felt something warm spill inside her chest. A soundless cry. A silent prayer. A heartbeat of hope. She waited. Not as a princess, but as someone who believed in a human who never turned back. Max's boots crunched across debris-strewn stone. The closer he got, the stronger he felt her presence. Not magic, not illusion, just something raw, human, impossible to ignore. Tom trailed behind, quieter than usual, eyes scanning the ceiling and corners. "Max, I think she's really up there. I can feel it." Max didn't answer. He didn't need to. His every instinct screamed the same truth. Lily was alive, and he was running out of time. The corridor narrowed, the walls blackened from fire. A shattered window revealed the orange glow of the burning city outside, flickering across their faces. Max's jaw was set. Every step closer, he felt the weight of the castle pressing down, not to stop him, but to test him. Dust shifted ahead. A low groan came from the ceiling. Max froze. "Structural damage," Tom whispered. "Do you even hear yourself? We could." Max pushed past him. "No stopping." Tom huffed, resigned. Yeah, I know. Can't argue with that stubborn brain of yours." They reached a spiral staircase leading up to the east tower. Broken chunks of stone littered the steps. Max tested each one with his weight, listening for cracks. The wind blew through jagged gaps in the tower, carrying ash and distant screams. Somewhere below, the enemy soldiers shouted. Max ignored them. Lily's chains, her silent tears, her hope, that's all that mattered. Inside the ruined tower, Lily pressed her back against the wall. Rowan's breathing was shallow, his face pale. The beam from earlier had almost crushed them, but somehow they had survived. She lifted her hands, dragging the remaining shackle along the stone floor. Metal scraped painfully, but she didn't stop. "Rowan," she mouthed. He caught her gaze and nodded. "Human," he whispered hoarsely. "He won't give up, trust him." She closed her eyes and imagined Max's face. The fire in his eyes, the determination in his step. Even in a world that was falling apart, he refused to stop. A soft vibration shook the floor. The enemy was coming closer. Lily's heart thudded painfully. She wanted to shout, warn him, guide him, but no sound would escape. Instead, she clenched her fists, forcing the panic down. She would wait. She would survive. Max reached the first shattered platform leading into the tower. He crouched low, scanning the upper floors. Dust fell like snow. Wooden beams groaned under the weight of destruction. He spotted a series of stone slabs jutting out, remnants of collapsed walls. It was dangerous, almost insane, but it was the only path. Tom groaned. "Seriously, Max, these are the kind of jumps that get you dead, not heroic, dead." Max's voice was firm. "I can't stop, not now." He leapt from one slab to the next, each jump measured, each landing precise. Stones crumbled under his weight, sending showers of dust into the air. Tom followed, slower, muttering under his breath. "If I die haunting, I'm serious." Max's eyes never wavered. Each step, each leap, each perilous inch carried him closer to her. In the tower chamber, Lily's fingers pressed against the stone floor. She could feel the faint vibrations through the floorboards, each one growing stronger. Her chest ached, the silence around her pressed in heavy like a wall, yet through the fear she felt hope swelling. Rowan's voice came, barely a whisper. "There, he's near." A shard of sunlight, or what remained of it through the smoke, caught in her hair, highlighting the tears streaming silently down her cheeks. A deep, steady heartbeat filled the air, not from her chest, but from the tower itself. She realized with sharp clarity that it was his. Max's presence, human, unyielding, relentless, was inside the walls now. She lifted her gaze. The upper window, jagged and broken, framed the gray sky. A silhouette appeared against it, Max. Her chest tightened. She couldn't speak, but her hands trembled toward him. Rowan's hand pressed lightly against hers. "He's coming for you, Princess. Do you hear me? He will reach you." Max climbed the last stretch of rubble. Flames licked the edges of the platform. Smoke stung his eyes, but he ignored it. Ahead, he saw her, chains binding her ankles, hair tangled, tears streaming silently. He froze for a heartbeat. His chest ached. The sight of her, fragile yet unbroken, stronger than any force he had faced, struck him in a way nothing else ever could. "Lily," he whispered, barely above a breath. Not a command, not a plea, just a sound that meant everything. Her eyes met his, wide, unblinking, full of fear, but also relief. And in that moment the world fell away. The burning castle, the enemy below, the broken stairs, all of it vanished under the force of one human refusing to let go. Max dropped to his knees, reaching for her. His hands brushed the chains. Rowan groaned, raising his staff weakly. "Be careful, Princess." Max ignored him. There was only her. Lily's silent eyes shone with unshed words. She wanted to speak, to cry, to beg, but she could do none of it. Max pressed his hands against her shackles. His strength surged, not magical, not superhuman, but purely human. a fire born of love, determination, and refusal to let her remain in silence. The metal groaned, sparked, shook. Rowan watched, amazed, as Max's hands didn't tremble, didn't falter. The chains began to give. Max's hands pressed harder against the cold, heavy metal of Lily's shackle. Sparks flew where the iron scraped against stone, each groan echoing through the ruined tower like a scream. His arms burned, every muscle screaming, but he didn't stop. Tom crouched nearby, shielding his eyes from falling debris. "Max, it's not moving. Are you seriously trying to bend iron with your bare hands?" Max gritted his teeth. "I'm not trying, I will." Below them, the castle trembled with distant explosions. Enemy soldiers shouted, their voices bouncing off broken walls. Dust fell in choking clouds, but Max didn't hear it, not really. There was only Lily. Her wide, frightened eyes, her silent tears, the way her chest rose and fell with fear she couldn't release in words. Rowan tried to rise, his old joints cracking. "Be careful, human, it's not just the chains." Max ignored him. His hands were a furnace of determination. Sweat dripped from his brow, mixing with soot on his face. His fingers ached, nails digging into cold metal. The shackle wobbled. And then, it cracked. A sharp, metallic sound rang out, louder than any cannon. The shackle split. Lily gasped, silent, of course, but her eyes widened with disbelief. She touched her ankle, felt the freedom, and a surge of raw hope rushed through her chest. Max exhaled sharply, almost collapsing onto the stone floor. His arms trembled with exhaustion, but he was smiling. "You're free," he said, voice hoarse, nearly breaking. Rowan groaned from his side, but a proud glint shone in his eyes. Not magic, not spells, just human determination, incredible. Lily wanted to speak. She tried, but no sound came. Instead, she reached toward Max with both hands. Her fingers brushed his arm. Her eyes shone with gratitude, fear, and something deeper, something that made Max's chest ache. He gripped her hand gently. "It's okay, you're okay, I've got you." She clutched him tightly, relief pouring through her like rain. For the first time since the explosion, she allowed herself to feel it, to cry silently, shivering in the aftermath of terror. Outside, the castle was chaos. Flames consumed wooden scaffolding, smoke twisted into dark columns above the towers, and the enemy pushed forward relentlessly. But inside the ruined East Tower, there was a small pocket of calm. A human had arrived, and that human refused to leave without her. Tom, still half-crouched, shook his head. I don't even know what to say. You did it. You actually did it. Are you okay?" Max exhaled. "Yeah, almost, but we're not safe yet." Lily, still silent, nodded. Her fingers tightened around his. She could feel the danger, but for the first time, she didn't feel trapped. Not completely. Rowan pushed himself upright. His robes were torn, but his spirit glimmered. "The tower may not hold much longer," he said slowly. "You need to leave now." Max glanced toward the staircase that led downward. Rubble littered each step. Dust clouds rose with every movement. He looked back at Lily. "We'll make it," he said, "step by step, together." She nodded again. Her hands gripping his, she allowed herself to trust. As they descended, a loose beam above creaked ominously. Max's arm shot up instinctively, shielding Lily. The beam cracked and splintered, missing them by inches. Dust rained down and Lily coughed, leaning into Max. Tom stumbled behind them, muttering, "Seriously, can we not almost die every 5 minutes? My heart can't take this." Max didn't answer. His focus was unshakable. Every step downward, every careful landing, every handhold was a promise. She would survive. The distant sounds of battle grew louder, metal clashing, shouts, cries. Max felt them all, but each step he took carried him closer to a truth stronger than fear. Humans could endure. Humans could defy odds. Humans could fight for one another even when the world was burning. They reached a small landing where a shattered window overlooked the courtyard. Flames licked the stone below. Smoke billowed upward in gray clouds. Max set Lily down gently. "Almost there," he whispered. She looked up at him, eyes wide, silent. But the message was clear. She trusted him. She believed in him. Rowan leaned heavily against the wall. You've done what most would consider impossible, he said, voice rasping. Not magic, just heart. Max's chest tightened. That's all humans have, he said softly. Heart, and we fight like hell to protect it. Lily reached out and held his hand again. Max felt her trembling, not from fear, but from relief, from hope, from the sheer force of surviving when everything seemed lost. A low rumble shook the landing, dust cascaded from the ceiling. Max glanced upward. Another part of the tower was crumbling. He grabbed Lily's hand. No more waiting, let's go. Together, human determination and silent courage moved as one. Step by step, they descended into the chaos of a world that had tried to crush them, but had not. And as they reached the threshold of the ruined hallways, Max felt it deep in his bones. This was only the beginning. The castle had not fallen yet, and neither would they. Lily's silent tears glimmered in the smoke-filled light. Max squeezed her hand. We're coming out together. And for the first time since the explosion, the two of them moved not as victim and rescuer, but as humans refusing to let the world break them. Max led Lily through the ruined hallways, each step cautious but urgent. Smoke choked the air, curling around their faces like living shadows. Sparks rained from broken beams overhead, and the smell of burning wood and stone filled their lungs. Tom trailed behind, grumbling and coughing. Seriously, I think the castle wants to murder us in style. Max didn't respond. His eyes were locked ahead, toward the outer gate, toward safety, toward the world beyond the flames. Every step carried the weight of his promise, I will not leave you. Lily moved carefully, one hand holding Max's, the other brushing against the walls for support. Her eyes flicked to Rowan, who limped behind them. His staff barely kept him upright, but he insisted on staying close. Almost there, Max whispered. He could feel the heat growing stronger, the flames licking closer. Each doorway they passed offered glimpses of soldiers still fighting, bodies strewn across the courtyard below. Lily shivered not from cold, but from the realization of how close death had always been. Yet her grip on Max never wavered. She had been silent, she had been trapped, but she was not broken. They reached a shattered balcony overlooking the courtyard. Flames roared below, devouring wooden scaffolds and splintered siege engines. The enemy soldiers had formed a line, trying to prevent anyone from escaping the castle. Tom muttered from behind them, "You see that? That's a lot of people with swords, and not friendly ones." Max's jaw tightened. "Then we don't fight them, we run." Rowan coughed, pressing a hand to his chest. "There's only one path across the roof. Carefully. The stone is cracked, but it will hold if you step right." Max glanced at Lily. She nodded, eyes wide but trusting. He reached out, gripping her hand tightly. "Step with me, 1 foot at a time, don't look down." Lily's breath caught, but she followed him. Step by step, they moved across the crumbling roof, stones loose underfoot. Dust and ash rose with every movement, carried by the heat of the burning castle. Below, the enemy noticed them. Shouts rang out. Arrows whistled through the air. Max ducked instinctively, shielding Lily with his body. Tom groaned, "I hate everything about this right now." Max ignored him. One wrong step, one miscalculation, and they would fall into the flames. Yet every inch brought them closer to the edge, closer to freedom. A massive beam above them groaned, threatening to collapse. Max froze, calculated, then lunged forward, pulling Lily with him just as the beam shattered behind them. Splinters rained down like deadly needles. Lily's chest heaved, silent sobs shaking her shoulders. She clutched Max's hand tightly. He squeezed hers back, wordless, giving her strength she couldn't speak aloud. Rowan limped past them, staff held high, chanting quietly under his breath. His magic flared, keeping falling debris at bay, a fragile shield against the crumbling tower. "You're almost there," he rasped. "Don't stop now." Max led them to a final stretch, a narrow stone ledge connecting the ruined roof to the remaining intact part of the castle. Flames licked the edges, smoke filled their eyes. One misstep and they would plummet into the burning courtyard. Lily froze, panic flashing across her face. Max pressed a hand to her cheek. "Look at me, not down, not behind me, step with me." She nodded, silent, trembling, but trusting him completely. 1 step, 2 steps. The stone beneath them shook. Arrows thudded into the walls nearby. Max's arm tensed, pulling her closer. Then, the ledge cracked beneath them. Dust exploded into the air. Max's heart skipped. He grabbed Lily, shoulder pressed against her, and leapt. They landed hard on the intact roof, rolling to absorb the impact. Dust choked their lungs, flames crackling dangerously close. Tom tumbled beside them, groaning, "I hate life." Max rose first, brushing ash from his shoulders. He extended a hand to Lily. She took it, gripping him with all her strength. For the first time, her tears weren't just fear, they were relief, hope, trust. Rowan crawled toward them, breath ragged but alive. "You made it," he whispered. "A single human carried you through hell." Max shook his head. Not alone, she never gave up either. Lily's eyes met his. Silent words passed between them, gratitude, or a deep bond that didn't require sound. Beyond the roof, the castle's outer walls still held, but flames licked higher, and smoke poured into the sky like a storm. Max knew they couldn't stay. They had to move before the entire structure collapsed. He looked at Lily, firm and unyielding. "We leave now, together, no one left behind." She nodded, silent, determined, alive. Max inhaled sharply, feeling the heat of the fire, the weight of the moment. A human had fought through impossible odds, climbed impossible heights, and refused to quit. And Lily, a princess trapped in silence, had survived. Not because of magic, not because of prophecy. Because of human courage. Because of heart. Step by step, hand in hand, they descended toward the courtyard, toward survival, toward a world that hadn't broken them yet. And for the first time, Max allowed himself to hope, not just that they would escape, but that humanity itself, fragile and defiant, could triumph in the face of impossible odds. The courtyard stretched out before them, a sea of fire, smoke, and chaos. Soldiers fled, carts burned, and the enemy still pressed toward the crumbling castle gates. The sky was a dull gray, streaked with orange from the flames, as if the sun itself mourned the destruction below. Max dropped to the ground first, pulling Lily down with him behind the last ruined wall for cover. Dust and sparks rained down around them. He pressed a hand to her back. "Stay close. Don't look down. Don't panic." She nodded silently, her eyes wide but trusting. Her chains were gone. Her voice was still lost, but Max felt her gratitude, her fear, her hope, vibrating through their joined hands. Tom crouched behind a pile of rubble, shaking his head. "I swear, if I survive this, I am never doing anything remotely heroic ever again." Max didn't answer. Every muscle in his body was tense, ready for the final push. He could see the main gate ahead, partially destroyed but passable. Beyond it, safety, and beyond safety, the world waiting for them. Rowan limped beside them, staff in hand, casting faint protective wards to deflect falling debris and sparks. "You too, the world will remember this," he rasped. "Not magic, not luck, just human spirit." Max glanced down at Lily. Her eyes, wet with silent tears, shone brighter than any spell. That quiet strength, the refusal to break even when trapped, was something he would carry with him forever. They ran across the final stretch of courtyard, stones shifting underfoot. Flames licked at their heels. Enemy soldiers noticed them and charged, swords raised, but Max didn't stop. "Lily, stay low," he shouted, though his voice was swallowed by the roar of the fire. She ducked instinctively, pressing herself close to him. Her hands gripped his arms, silent yet fierce. Tom shouted something behind them, but Max didn't hear it. He only heard the pounding of his heart and the rhythm of her silent trust. A volley of arrows came from a distant tower. Max rolled forward, pulling Lily down with him. Sparks erupted where the arrows hit stone around them. He didn't hesitate. Step by step, they moved. The courtyard was a gauntlet, but he refused to falter. Every soldier who crossed his path felt his presence. Not a magical aura, not superhuman strength, but determination, human, unyielding, unstoppable. Finally, they reached the crumbling outer gate. The flames from the courtyard were behind them, the enemy pressing close, but the exit was just ahead. Max grabbed Lily's hand and pulled her forward. She stumbled slightly but caught herself. She trusted him completely. Almost there, Max shouted even though no one could hear. His voice was for her. They crossed the threshold together. Beyond the gate lay the forest, smoke curling above the trees. Somewhere the wind carried fresh air, the first in what felt like forever. Tom collapsed on the ground, gasping. I lived, somehow I lived. Max didn't stop. He turned back, looking at the burning castle, at the enemy still screaming behind them. He felt the weight of the destruction, the loss, the fear, but also the pride. And then he looked at Lily. Her eyes met his, silent yes but alive, grateful, full of trust, full of life. Max exhaled a soundless sigh and smiled. He had promised he wouldn't leave her. He hadn't. They stumbled into the edge of the forest. Smoke rose from the castle behind them, flames burning bright against the gray sky. Rowan followed, leaning heavily on his staff, but alive. Max gently pressed his hands to Lily's shoulders. She reached for his face, trembling, and pressed her forehead against his. Still no words. Still no sound. But silence had never felt so full, so alive, so human. Max whispered, "We made it." Her eyes glimmered. She couldn't speak, but she didn't need to. Her gratitude, her relief, her admiration, all of it shone clearly. Tom, finally catching his breath, muttered, "I hate everything about heroics except this part. This part's okay." Max chuckled faintly, a rare moment of light in the shadows of a ruined castle. Rowan lowered his staff, voice raspy but steady. "You humans, you endure, you fight, you survive. You are more than legends, you are proof." Max didn't answer. He only looked at Lily. She looked back, her silent tears now mixed with something like hope, like the possibility of voice, of laughter, of freedom. For the first time since the explosion, since the chains, since the silence. Lily smiled. And in that smile, Max heard everything. He didn't need magic. He didn't need prophecy. He didn't even need her words. He only needed human courage. And he had it. The ruined castle smoldered behind them. The enemy would recover. The world would mourn. But here in the forest, two humans had refused to break. Hand in hand, they walked forward. Step by step. Heart by heart. Humanity.